everybody. Welcome to the Trust Your Board podcast. My name is Stephen Wright. I am joined, as always, by Mr. William Monroe. Will, how are you doing, friend?
Hey, yo, doing good, man. Got an exciting new type of mock for us today.
Yeah, so a first time for us. We have some guests on the show to help us do a Dynasty startup mock draft. We have the guys from the Fantasy Flavor podcast. We got Sanatan, Trenton, and Dylan with us. How are you guys doing?
We are good. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having us.
Wonderful. Thanks for joining us here. We do want to go ahead and plug all your socials real quick. So, Dylan, we'll start with you. If you could plug your social and let us know where we can find the podcast, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so you could find myself on Twitter at DKTom2018. That's DKTHOM 2018, all numbers. As for the podcast, you can find us pretty much anywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, like you name it, we're on there. We also have a YouTube channel too, Fantasy Flavor. Just type it right in, and you'll be able to find us.
Awesome. Sanatan, where can we find you, man?
Yeah, you can additionally, in addition to the Fantasy Flavor podcast and YouTube, you can find me on Twitter at Sanatan Saraf, and hopefully you can follow us on YouTube on the Fantasy Flavor videos. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. And finally, if you're desperate for content and you want to find Trenton, where can we find you, man?
Yeah, I'm actually trying to work more on my Twitter lately, but yeah, you can find me at Trenton Robert, or not Trenton. Hold on, I can't even remember. At T Roberts NFL, and on Twitter, I'm trying to get more work in there lately. So hopefully, I don't quit by the time you all see this.
I saw that earlier today, Trenton. I like that. I like the idea of trying to push it.
Yeah.
There we go. So as always, you can find us on Twitter at Trust Your Board. You can find us anywhere that you listen to podcasts, and you can also follow along with our boards on YouTube. Channel is just Trust Your Board. Keep in mind, guys, we're all smaller podcasts here. Your ratings and reviews and subscribes mean a lot more to us and the Fantasy Flavor podcast than they do the bigger guys. They have a lot bigger impact. So if you could just take a second, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a rating if you're just doing the podcast, that would be awesome. We'd much appreciate it. So with that out of the way, gentlemen, are we good to start the draft?
Yeah,
Yes.
let's mock.
Fired up.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and get the ball rolling here. First off the board was Saquon Barkley. So just start to roll down our picks here. I am drafting out of the 2 slot. Sanatan is drafting out of the 4. Trenton out of the 6. Will out of the 8. And then Dylan out of the 10. So a very interesting spot for me. I was not expecting Saquon to go first. I figured it'd be McCaffrey. I tend to like starting dynasties with wide receivers, and I probably would have taken Michael Thomas over Barkley. Just that tends to be my style. I don't know if it would work out as well in the 2 slot. I tend to prefer being later in the draft. But with McCaffrey there, I am hard pressed to pass him up. So I'm going to go ahead and just lock in McCaffrey. A little bit of a cheat code, getting kind of 2 players in one there. It's just too hard to pass up. I'll figure out my strategy later.
Yeah, so at 103, Michael Thomas went, and opposite to Steve, I like to grab the stud running back, and because I always play to win now. So that's why at 104, I am looking at Dalvin Cook or Kamara or Zeke. And since this is a full PPR, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Kamara was underutilized. He was also injured last year, and I'm a big fan, so I'll pick Alvin Kamara here.
Well, at the 105, I was actually sniped by the AI, so Dalvin Cook went there. I was really hoping he would fall to the 6th, but sitting here, my top 2 targets depends on how I'm going to want to go. I think I usually start running back early, so I'm actually going to flip it up and see how it goes here. So I'm going to go with DeAndre Hopkins at the 106. Got a really fun new landing spot with Arizona and Kyler Murray, and see how that all develops. It should be fun to watch.
All right. And then at the 7 goes Ezekiel Elliott. So it goes to me here at 8. Similar to Steve, we usually would both of us try to build our early startup dynasty teams with receivers, just because we try to have that longer lasting initial impact, and then kind of fill in at the end maybe with some older running backs. And it worked out for me. Right now I have Adams, Hill, and Godwin as the top on the board here. I would say drafting of a quarterback would usually worry someone for a rookie quarterback for the receiver in Adams here. But I think it could work out. We'll see how long Rodgers stays as quarterback. But I do like Jordan Love. If it was one of the other quarterbacks outside of Love, Tua or Burrow, might worry me a little more. But I think it's pretty easy to lock in Adams here. I love Tyreek Hill, the only other one that's an option there. But I like to get my number one receiver to be more of a consistent guy first, and then a receiver 2 or 3 as kind of your boom bust guy. So we'll lock in Devontae Adams here and pass it off to Dylan.
All right, so awesome. Here at the 109, Joe Mixon goes. I unfortunately got sniped. Definitely stinks there for me. I really wanted Joe Mixon. I'm a big Mixon guy here. But on the board, we potentially have Tyreek Hill at wide receiver. But similar to Sanatan, I like to stack up on my running backs early because the drop-off is bigger. So I have Nick Chubb here, Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders, Derrick Henry, or Clyde Edwards-Helaire kind of on the board here. And it's really close for me. But, Nick Chubb's been super safe, super consistent. And I'm planning on being a little risky here with my second pick. So I feel like Nick Chubb is going to really solidify my roster here. So I'm going to go ahead and take Nick Chubb with the 110. And back to me here, actually. We have freaking awesome here for me. We have 4 wide receivers go off the board with Mike Evans here at the 111, Tyreek Hill at the 112, Chris Godwin here at the 201, and Juju Smith-Schuster here at the 202. So didn't expect all these running backs to still be here, but I have a plan. So I'm actually going to surprise people here, and I'm going with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, I think this is pretty early, but I kind of want to do this for a few reasons. One, I think currently I'm working on a prospect video for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You can find on the Fantasy Flavor channel soon. And secondly, it's just kind of like his upside's so massive, and he has such like a receiving upside that he can be like Austin Eckler tied to the Chiefs offense, which scores 1.6 touchdowns per game when Mahomes is starting. So even if he gets half of that, he's scoring like 13 touchdowns and probably catching like throughout his career, probably an average of like 80 balls during his prime. So just honestly, combined with the touchdown and reception upside, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, it may look a little stupid now, but I'll be laughing at you after he blows up this year. So I'm going to go ahead and select Clyde Edwards-Helaire here.
So Sanatan and Trenton, you know this man. Does this pick surprise you?
No,
Nope,
it doesn't.
not at all.
Fair enough.
I would not do it, but it does not surprise us.
He's extremely high on Clyde. I don't know. I mean, I'm high on him. I thought I was high on him, but he's just
Yeah,
way
we
above
all
and
are high
beyond,
on
so
him.
I expected
But
it.
but he
Right.
is just he has something about the rookies that we don't. He just
That
loves the
rookie fever,
rookies.
baby. I'm loving it. Rookie fever.
So after he makes that jump on the number one rookie, Clyde, we have Amari Cooper go. So top on the board here for me, DJ Moore, Josh Jacobs, George Kittle, Sanders, and Beckham. It's not tight end premium, so probably won't go Kittle here. I imagine most startups will probably go somewhere here in the middle of the second, maybe the back end of the second. Was not thinking DJ Moore would still be there, but I may deviate from my plan a little bit here as I see some of the running backs going off here and take a guy that I think is going to break out big time this year, and Miles Sanders. I think he's got, there's definitely a lot more weapons around, but he's solidified as one of the likely top pass catchers outside of the tight ends. We'll see which of the receivers emerge. And I just think he takes that jump into the top 10 this year if he can stay healthy. And nice having a solid backup quarterback there behind Wentz. The risk is if you have a quarterback like Wentz that has shown that he can get hurt, there may be a drop off after him. But long term, you're pretty happy about both current quarterback and potential future quarterback. So we'll divide it up here and go Adams and Miles Sanders.
At the 206 there, DJ Moore did go. It was definitely interesting. I kind of thought about him, but I don't know. I think I'm actually going to stay away from the running backs now, see what I can do with like a 0 running back strategy right now. So the best available player on my board left is actually a tight end. I really like George Kittle. I know this isn't tight end premium or anything fancy like that, but he does have a wide receiver upside. He is that tight end that will give you wide receiver numbers regardless. So if you put that caliber of player in your tight end slot, you could get another wide receiver 1 that doesn't even have to play that role. And I said earlier, if you're looking for a championship squad, I tweeted out a reply to a different tweet. If you're building a championship squad and you have one of him or Travis Kelce as your tight end, that's really, really helpful for going for that championship. So I'm going to go with George Kittle here.
So at 208, AJ Brown was taken, and I'm so happy that I'm able to stack 2 of my running backs back to back. So I'll go Josh Jacobs at this pick. I know that the upside was a bit cut because they drafted Lynn Bowden, and they also retained Jalen Richard. But I think at some point they have to realize that Josh Jacobs is an excellent pass catcher, and he will get his due. If not this year, then next year for sure.
Yeah, solid pick. That's what I would like to have gotten to me, but alas, we have to pivot. OBJ went in between us with the 210, so leaves me with an interesting decision. Do I want to go running back heavy? Do I want to balance things out a little bit? I do think I'm just going to lean into this kind of different strategy and take the opposite approach of Trent and just go running back heavy here. And the top one on my board is the top one on Sleeper's board as well, and that's Derrick Henry. I think his usage is pretty much going to stay the same. You might see some of the touchdown numbers regress, as I think that entire offense is going to regress a little bit. But PPR or not, the man's just going to get fed carries no matter what the game script is. And I love that kind of a volume play. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in Mr. Henry. After me, we had Kenny Galladay go off at the 212, and then starting with the third went Julio. So another interesting decision of, do I just keep leaning into the running backs? Do I strike some kind of balance? And I think I'm going to keep leaning in. I'm going to go ahead and lock myself in one of these rookies here, and that is going to be Mr. Jonathan Taylor in Indy. I've said it before on one of our last podcasts, I really like Indy as an organization now. They're doing some great things. They got a great O-line. The quarterback situation does scare me a little bit. I don't want, Rivers to be the Rivers of last year, or him retire at the end of the year and suddenly they're relying on Eason or somebody else that's rather unproven, and you got a lot of stack boxes that Taylor's going to be facing. But I think he can overcome. Love the talent. Got him second behind CEH as well. So we're going to go ahead and lock him in and add a little bit of youth to the running back position.
Yeah. So at 303, Austin Eckler went, and I'm so glad that I was able to land the player I really wanted here, and that's Patrick Mahomes. I know that people usually in one quarterback leagues, they say to wait for quarterbacks, but I am a firm believer that quarterbacks like Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, they provide you with that weekly upside, and the difference of about 6 to 10 points. That is almost equivalent to a running back to value. So that's the reason I always want a top class quarterback, and if possible a top class tight end in my lineup, because they don't
Yeah,
come easy.
I'm kind of surprised that it's taken to the third round for the first quarterback to come
Exactly.
off the board. Does that surprise anybody else?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it does. I think it's a value. I would take Mahomes late second easy.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised though. I think quarterback's super deep this year, so I'd wait.
I think it depends. Obviously, with Dynasty, people are gonna. You may want to take the top guys early on that are proven, And then after the top guys go, then you feel like you can wait because it evens out a little more.
Right. So sitting here at the 306, Travis Kelce went before me. I'm not looking for a tight end because I already have Kittle. But I did miss out. I was looking at either Jonathan Taylor or Austin Eckler here. I was going to actually grab a running back. And those were my two guys, and they went just a few picks earlier. And then after those guys, it was Patrick Mahomes. So all three of those went in order. And now I'm stuck. And I don't like any of those skill players, really. The board is really tough. It's starting to get tough right now. So I'm actually going to grab my quarterback. I'm going to actually go with the second quarterback. I'll go with Lamar Jackson here.
Damn, sniped me. I was going to
high
take
rushing
him, actually,
upside.
if you didn't.
Yeah, high rushing upside. It's 1A, 1B with him and Patrick Mahomes for the next few years at least. And I just really like this stack so far. I just see a top tier tight end and a top tier quarterback. I have three of the top guys at their positions.
Yeah, I love it. I was thinking about going one of the quarterbacks when it was Steve's picks there. So 2 snipes in a row. Both of you guys, well done.
Thanks.
So getting to me, Quentin Sutton goes after Lamar Jackson to Trenton. So the top of the board here, you got Cooper Kupp, Calvin Ridley, Metcalf, Allen, Robinson, a lot of wide receivers, not too many running backs. Looking at Aaron Jones, Fournette, Kenyon Drake, a couple of the rookies. Not too thrilled really with any of them, as you guys mentioned there. I think it's probably a little too early to go Mark Andrews. I do like his upside, but I think at this point I got to go with a skill player here. And top guy here on my board is someone who we were talking about before this, actually, in Cooper Kupp. He's tied to a great offensive coach. I think at least a decent quarterback. There's the argument that Goff isn't good enough, but I think he's good enough to make Cooper Kupp, a wide receiver 2 at least, if not wide receiver 1 on some years, as we've seen. So I'd be thrilled to pair him with Devontae Adams and still have Miles Sanders as my first running back there. So we'll go Cooper Kupp.
Man, this stinks. I've been sniped twice, to be honest. I was actually planning on going Cooper Kupp there, but you know what? I'm chilling. You know why I'm chilling? Okay, because Allen Robinson, another guy I wanted at 309. But this is what you have to do. And listen, this is what you have to do in your draft. You have to calm down. Because sometimes, when you get sniped like this, you get so hyper and so stressed, you just need to take a deep breath and relax. So with Allen Robinson going there at the 309, some running backs are on the board. We know me. I'm a running back. Like, I'm a lover of the running backs, right? But I'm actually not going to go running back here. This team's really young, right? And there's somebody I think who's going to break out as a superstar this year, and that's DK Metcalf. Now, Metcalf, I believe, had 900 yards as a rookie, which is absolutely incredible. And overall, like, he may have some boom bust nature to him, but he's tethered to Russell Wilson, who, even though he lost some good offensive linemen, overall, I just think he's going to be that future the wide receiver 1 there in Seattle. So, and there's not many pass catching weapons there. Will Disley's obviously injured. Greg Olson's there, but I think Metcalf can be the alpha there as soon as this year. A little bit of a reach, but he's only 22 years old, I believe. So I'm totally cool with it. And with my next pick here, totally on brand here, I'm going to go ahead and grab the third rookie running back off the board, J.K. Dobbins. Now,
Snipe.
I had my sniper rifle loaded, and I just sniped you there. Well, but listen, okay, I don't know why J.K. Dobbins and Jonathan Taylor are so far apart. They're going to probably have more similar of a rookie year than people are expecting. I do think, oddly enough, Jonathan Taylor may have more pass catching upside throughout his career just because of the fact that Lamar Jackson just doesn't target his running backs at all throughout his career. Now, maybe that will change because JK is actually a pretty good receiving back, and not necessarily pass protection, but it's just a perfect scheme fit. JK was at his best when they had a mobile quarterback and ran a run option there with Justin Fields, and he'll get that with Lamar Jackson. So I like J.K. Dobbins' pick here. I think it's a steal. Now I'm going to hand it back here to Will.
Yeah, after you snipe me for Dobbins, another rookie goes. I think that's the first rookie receiver. Jerry Jeudy goes off the board there. That's to me. A couple of rookies on the board, and CeeDee Lamb and DeAndre Swift. Fournette's up there. Kenyon Drake, DJ Chark, Melvin Gordon. So at this point, I'm debating between the top two rookies and Lamb and Swift, and then the aforementioned tight end that I mentioned earlier, Mark Andrews, as a couple of guys alluded to earlier. It's having that top tier tight end is a game changer, especially when you're going for a championship. So I'm actually going to pass on both of these rookies. I think they're both great, and I think they are going to hit, but they're not proven as we've seen. And I'm going to go ahead out and grab my tight end here in Mark Andrews. I think pairing him with Lamar Jackson for you'd imagine 4 or 5 years plus, he should be able to be locked and loaded there, and I won't really have to worry about tight end for foreseeable future. So we'll lock
Sniped
in
big time.
Mark Andrews. Oh man, we're killing it right now.
All right. Well, at the 406, Leonard Fournette went. That was the guy I was hoping would go there because another running back here. He's a guy that I talked about all last offseason. The other two co-hosts know all about this guy from me. But I'm going to go with Kenyon Drake here. I love his upside. I love his potential in that offense. It's a perfect scheme for him in Arizona, that spread style air raid offense. And he can just find holes here and there. Their addition of DeAndre Hopkins does nothing but help his value because that's going to pull even more defenders downfield to have to guard him. And Drake is in for a monster year, and as long as he can stay in Arizona for a few years, this is an amazing value pick in the 4th round to get my first running back on the team.
That's a good pick. And I don't like any. At 408, CD Lamb went. So and I don't like any of the wide receivers value right here. So I'm just going to punt the position for now and go with another running back. And there are only two options for me right here. One of them is Swift and Cam Akers, both rookies. And there has been a lot of debate, Swift versus Akers, who to take. I'm always on the Swift side because I think he's an excellent pass catcher, and so is Akers. But I think that in Detroit, Stafford throws a lot to his running backs, and Swift can catch about 50 balls. Having said that, I think Akers has the higher ceiling because I believe in Kerryon Johnson much more than Henderson or Malcolm Brown. I was a Kerryon Johnson fan last year, but he cannot just shed the injuries. And who knows that if he's sharing the load with Swift, maybe he will be more. He will not get injured. So that caps Swift's upside. So I'm going to go with Cam Akers.
Okay, and then we had DJ Chark go off the board right after Sanatan there. So this is the point where I start getting uncomfortable with my previous decisions.
Yeah.
Again, this is why you
Aren't we
try
all?
out different strategies, and you got to adapt, as Dylan was mentioning earlier. But I kind of wish I went Cortland Sutton instead of Jonathan Taylor. But
maybe time for a homer pick, Steve.
yeah, I think it's time for a homer pick. So this is where I need to pivot to wide receiver and start pounding wide receiver for a little bit. I do like all the options on the board, not necessarily as my one, but I do like them. So as Will alluded to, I will stick with a homer pick to start and grab Deebo Samuel. I just want a piece of an explosive offense, and out of the top options here, I think San Francisco is the most explosive. Plus, it gives you a nice rushing baseline. It's too a lot of end arounds they like to do, and they utilize them in different ways. And could he emerge as the one for my team? I don't know. Probably be more like a solid wide receiver too. But if a year breaks a certain way and touchdowns break a certain way, I can see him getting up in there every once in a while. So I will go ahead and lock in Deebo there. Terry McLaurin goes off the board right after me to end the second, and to start the 5th went DeAndre Swift. McLaurin was definitely somebody I was looking at to add and pair with Deebo, but alas, it is not to be. So I am looking at probably either Boyd or Woods. Lockett's on the board, but as Dylan was mentioning with Metcalf, I think Metcalf takes over there, and that's going to hurt Lockett quite a bit. Landry is actually probably the pick I should be making. Kind of a nice wide receiver too, very steady, very consistent guy, and I don't know if I've ever done this before, but I think I just talked myself into him. He makes the most sense for what this team needs. I could take a shot on an upside guy and say, Boyd's a pretty safe guy with a young quarterback, but who knows? Maybe Higgins emerges there and keeps Boyd locked in at that number 2 for the team for the foreseeable future. And Robert Woods has a contract coming up. Who knows where he goes? So I guess Jarvis probably is a safer pick. So I will go ahead and lock him in here. I don't know if I've ever owned Jarvis Landry, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he's just very disrespected all the time. I like him. Yeah, so at 503, Tyler Boyd went, and I'm glad he did. I don't want anything to do with him. So I'm looking at, of course, as Steve said, I'm regretting all those running backs pick. But again, at 409, I did not have any good options, anyways. So here I'm looking at my top rookie wide receiver in Jalen Rager, and I'm going to pick him. And I hope he doesn't reach to Will because he's a Eagles fan. I'm sure he would have taken him. So I'm
Yeah.
picking Jalen Rager. I think he has all the opportunity in front of him. It's just how much he takes advantage of that. I'm a firm believer in Carson Wentz. I know many people don't like him, but I'm a huge fan, and I think he's very, very accurate. He's a very nice quarterback, and they have all those old guys there. So starting this year, Rager will mix in, and from next year he'll be the number 1 there. So I think the upside is great. Maybe, but there is risk with rookies, so I'm willing to take that.
There's always room on the Wentz wagon for you, Sanatan.
Yeah.
All right, so after Sanatan picked at the 505, Tyler Lockett went. Sitting here, there is, as I said earlier, nobody here that I want. So with that being said, I'm gonna have to go down a little bit on the draft board, not too far. My options are looking like if I want a running back, Melvin Gordon, Todd Gurley, David Montgomery. Wide receivers, Robert Woods, Adam Thielen, those older guys. Maybe Justin Jefferson, but I don't like him. I already have my quarterback, so I'm not really looking at Kyler Murray. If it was a super flex, this is the easiest pick of the world because he wouldn't be in the 5th round. But and I already have a tight end, so I'm not looking at Ingram or Ertz. So I'm actually going to go with David Montgomery here. He is a young running back. He has potential. He really underperformed last year, but he still has that upside and that potential to do a lot better this season. So getting a RB2 of that caliber that's going to get that many touches, that much volume, this here in the 5th round is a great ad for this team. And so that's going to be my selection.
So question for Rome before I go into my pick here. I haven't done too much startup draft trading mid-draft, and I know a lot of people are doing that. This seems like a round I've heard a few people say they didn't like a ton of guys here. Would this be a round that you guys would try to shop this pick and maybe move down and pick up some future picks or additional picks in the coming rounds?
I can
Yeah,
talk
for
about
sure.
myself. I still like this round, but starting from 6, I think 6 to 8, the values are pretty similar. So if I can move from 6 to 7 or 8 and pick up something, that's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, it's rounds 5, 6, and 7. If you don't have a guy that you know is going to be there, look to see if you can maybe get a future first for that pick or something. Stack up on the future, but if you absolutely have to pick, try to get as safe as you can, because right here, throughout this, it's a lot of boom bust guys, and most of them are going to bust. So try to go as safe as possible, but if you have to, or if you can, try to trade out. Yeah.
I'm definitely firmer on. Well, I guess it kind of depends on the team. Like I'm looking at my team here, and as I mentioned before, kind of uncomfortable with what I'm doing. So I would be happy to trade back into this round around your pick, Will, and grab another wide receiver. kind of like Trenton, like I don't love them, but I would still look to add someone that's a little bit safer, at least in the near term. Like maybe I'd grab Woods or Thielen, um, just to try to add some safety in this team before we start getting into that, younger upside boomer bust kind of player pool.
Awesome. So I'm at a crossroads here. I'm not thrilled with a ton of what's available, as we've kind of just got to. So there's two guys that I'm deciding between, and it will basically shape, I think, the rest of the way my draft would go here. Because if I want to win now, I'm looking at a Todd Gurley here would be a nice pairing with Sanders to have two solid receivers, two solid running backs, at least for this year, and Andrews. Or look more toward the future and long term in a Kyler Murray that you guys referenced there as well. With it being Dynasty startup, I think I would always lean a little more on the long term side. But if I was trying to lean in, I think Gurley does have a really good year this year, especially with not too much competition there since they didn't bring anybody in. But as we mentioned, and I have Gurley in another Dynasty league, he's difficult to trade for, the value that I think he probably warrants just because of the uncertainty going forward. So because of that, and just kind of knowing how difficult it is to trade him, and if I wanted to trade Murray, I think it would be a good bit easier to shop him. I'll go Kyler Murray here and lock in quarterback and tight end.
Yeah, so pretty okay with that decision there for my draft here, but Todd Gurley goes here at the 509. I thought about him for a second, but then I realized his knees are probably worse than my grandfather's. So, it's kind of in and out there.
Too much
As
hate.
for that's how we do things around here. So as for myself, I think I'm going to go wide receiver because I do start seeing a drop off if I want immediate production, which I'd like because I do want to win this year. I think these running backs are going to carry my squad on their back. So, to me, it's between Robert Woods and Adam Thielen here. It's kind of tough, to be honest. And since nobody can snipe me, I can be pretty open here. I wouldn't mind grabbing Justin Jefferson here in the 6th round. So maybe I'll go Woods to not stacked with Minnesota wide receivers. I'm actually pretty okay with that. Robert Woods is also a year younger. Adam Thielen turns 30, I believe, once the season starts. Robert Woods is only 28. Woods only had 2 touchdowns too last season, so that's due for some positive regression. But Adam Thielen also had a hamstring, so I think both these are bounce backs because hamstrings don't carry year to year. They're only problem during the season. So with that being said, just because Justin Jefferson's here and he could be one of my options, I don't want to limit myself to taking the best player available. Since Woods and Thielen are so close, I'm going to lock in Woods here. I think it's pretty good value. Woods is never going to be sexy, but he's going to win me at ship, so it's cool. As for the next 4 picks here, 5'11 is Chris Carson, 5'12 is Dak Prescott, 6'1 is Zach Ertz, and I was sniped again. 6'2 is Adam Thielen. I would have loved Thielen here. I would have rounded up my wide receiver core, but looking at the options here, I could grab quarterback. Deshaun Watson, probably the last tier 1 guy potentially, but I'm good on waiting there. Devin Singletary here at running back. I do like stacking my running backs, but there's just no one here I'm that interested in. So I guess Justin Jefferson's here on the board. He's their number 1 ranked wide receiver here on Sleeper. Christian Kirk, I think, has interesting sleeper upside there too. Not really pretty, to be honest, but this is tough. I do like Watson a lot. I normally don't reach early on quarterback. No, I can't do it. I'm sorry, guys. I can't do it. I'm going to probably just lock in. Yeah, I'm going to lock in. I'm going to go to Deshaun Watson there. It was tough. It's tough.
My God.
Okay, I want to explain why. Rookie wide receivers take a while to produce. So I feel like Justin Jefferson may be cheaper mid-season than he is right now. So just playing the value game here. That was tough for me to do. I do not like going quarterback early. I was just mentioning that. But Deshaun Watson, I think he's a pretty good value here.
It was very dramatic, man.
It was. You had the listener on the edge of their seat.
You're welcome.
No, I'm not going to take him. Hey, I'm going to take him.
Yeah, Sophie's choice.
I'm sure there were prop bets out there, and people were like going up and down on that one too.
Yeah.
As you can see. So you made it a little more
take the
difficult
over.
for me. I thought you were going to take Jefferson. I was basically looking at Jefferson at wide receiver. You have Gallup, you have Kirk, Fuller, Brown, bunch of guys I'm not thrilled about. They have upside, but it's capped now with Gallup and Kirk getting some competition for targets. So it's Jefferson at wide receiver for me. And then at running back, it's Singletary and then a bunch of kind of older guys that we kind of thinking maybe lose their job. And Kerryon Johnson's there as well, Geis. But like we said, Bell, Connor, maybe Hunt, a chance on Hunt. But I want to get someone who I think, at least has the inside track for carries, which doesn't look to be too many guys here. And I did already, say that I was going to look a little more long term. So for me, it's either Singletary or Justin Jefferson. And since I kind of made that pivot not to take Gurley and go a little more long term, I'm going to punt my second running back position a little bit further, and we're going to go Justin Jefferson here to shore up the receiving core.
Yeah, all right. So after Will picked right there, Devin Singletary went at the 606. So sitting here looking at my options, there's still Evan Ingram on the board. Looking at some of the other options, you have Le'Veon Bell and James Conner for your running backs, Gallup, Christian Kirk, and Will Fuller at wide receiver. But I'm actually going to go down a little bit on the board further than that. Go for my rookie wide receiver 3. And I know we're not on the Fantasy Flavor podcast right now, so none of your viewers will understand this. But my rookie wide receiver 3 is Henry Ruggs.
Oh no!
I love his upside. I think he is very underrated by the fantasy football community. Everybody looks at all those speed guys that came out recently, and they're all like, John Ross didn't pan out. Guys like that, they're just speed guys. Henry Ruggs is much more than a speed guy, and is going to be used more than a speed guy. And I really love his upside. I know Dylan hates his upside, but I love it, and I'm going to go with him right here.
I hate his floor. He has a very low floor there with no breakout age. But let's kick it here to Sanatan for his next pick.
Yeah, so after Henry Ruggs, Gallup went and at 608. And I'm going with another guy who has a low floor and high ceiling. Probably will not be appreciated when I take it. It's Marquise Brown from Baltimore. I think he takes a step up this year. He's already a good touchdown guy in there, and I think Lamar Jackson will be throwing more this year and running a bit less. And he's the only option at wide receiver that I can think of there. So
Yeah, I would say Dylan has made my decision a lot easier. So we had Evan Ingram go off the board between Sanatan and I. I was thinking quarterback, but now all of you have quarterbacks as well as our 12th position player here. So I'm just going to punt the position again and probably grab 2 more wide receivers just to try to bolster this grouping here. There is one player that's jumping out at me. I mean, I do like Christian Kirk. I want to give him a shout out. Big fan of Christian Kirk, but the guy I'm really targeting here is going to be T.Y. Hilton. I think he's going to give me a fair amount of consistency, but has all that boom built into him as well. I'm not expecting the Andrew Luck seasons of the past because Philip Rivers is not Andrew Luck, but we do know that Philip Rivers can hyper target people. Look at Keenan Allen, we mentioned before, getting a lot of targets. So I think Hilton could take on that role. So I love adding him to this team as a potential, maybe high-end wide receiver too. That's probably his ceiling. I don't think he's going to get any higher than that, but the potential exists, I think. So we're going to go ahead and add Hilton there. We had Bell go off after me to round out the 6th, and then Christian Kirk to start the 7th round. And now this is where I'm kind of in a more interesting position. So to run down positions real quick, we have quarterback Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Wentz. At running back, we have Connor, Hunt, David Johnson, Kerryon, and Geis. Wide receiver, we got Fuller, Mike Williams, N'Keal Harry, Brandon Cooks, and Denzel Mims. And then at tight end, Hunter Henry, Waller, Noah Fant, and Hawkinson. So this is the part of the draft that I kind of don't like. Not in love with the tight end options here. I do like Fant, but I'd probably rather get him in the next round. Wide receivers, not super interested in. Maybe take a shot on Cooks, but not loving the options there. Same with running back, as Will had highlighted before, and quarterback, I just don't feel like I need to take. So I will go ahead and take a luxury pick in a running back, partially because they're running backs and partially because Will had said he wanted to wait, and I'm going to try to punish him a little bit here. So I am going to take Kareem Hunt,
Oh,
actually.
dang.
Aha, I got Sanatan too. There we go. So I do like him. Keep in mind he was in PPR a running back 2 last year in his limit while he was playing, not for the full year, but for those 8 weeks or however long he played, he was a running back 2. I don't know if he repeats that. We got a new coaching staff in there, so things are going to change up a little bit. But even if he doesn't, he's a free agent at the end of the year, and I think he could get. I don't know if he can get a starting job, but it's certainly in a timeshare. So a nice luxury pick for me.
Yeah, that was the last running back that I wanted, and I thought that these are the rounds where I don't care about my team needs. I just take the best value, and we can trade later. And running backs have the most trade values in Dynasty. So yeah, Kareem Hunt was definitely my pick there. But after Kareem Hunt, Russell Wilson went at 703, and I don't like anyone else. I really thought that I'll get Kareem Hunt, but nevertheless, let's look at Okay, I'll probably then go with my tight end uh, that I really really like, and that's T.J. Hawkinson. I still think that Detroit lacks pass catchers. They only have Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones, and Hawkinson started well, and then that whole team fell through because Stafford was injured. I think Stafford comes back, and Hawkinson is just too good, and in the draft capital that they invested in him should show up this year. So I'll just grab my tight end and then look for all other running backs and wide receivers later.
All right. Well then, right after Sanatan's pick there, James Conner went at the 705. So sitting here at the 706, there's still some decent names left up on the board. There's there's a 3 tight ends right near the top, but of course I don't need one. I already have Kittle. Wide receivers, there's quite a few in there. I'm thinking about potentially sniping Dylan here with N'Keal Harry, but I'm not going to do it. I'm actually going to. I'm actually going. I want to get a third running back for this team because I want a guy in there for bye weeks, a guy that I can put in the flex if I need to. Just a guy who can help me from week to week, and that for me is going to be David Johnson.
Damn.
He was just traded to Houston in what people consider to be the worst deal of all time. But he does have value in Houston. He is a much better fit there than he was, in my opinion, in the Arizona Air Raid offense. And so I feel like he's going to work well there. He should still be a PPR monster, and he will get a lot of volume. There's not much behind him to push him for that work. And so he gives me a really good third running back on this team that can put up consistent RB2 numbers more than likely.
All right, and then after that, Darren Waller goes to the team 7. So at this point, still need a second running back, but as I mentioned earlier, kind of really building more of a long-term team. So don't direly need that position. So I'm looking at kind of best available guys. And for me, looking, I do like Vaughn still as it's running back, but I am less thrilled about him long term. I do like him in that offense, but I don't know how long he'll last there. And I think best value left for me here is Mike Williams. I like the talent, and it's got a young quarterback to potentially grow with if Keenan Allen leaves here. So for me, the pick is Mike Williams.
Oh my God, I'm doing a happy dance. Oh my Lord, can you believe it? He was thinking about sniping me after Trenton sniped me, and he said, you know what? I'm going to let Dylan have this one. And
Got to be nice to our guests there.
Thank you very much. 709 was Noah Fant here, but I'm chilling. And I'm looking at it, man, I need a 4th running back. We got to stack these guys early. Listen, wide receiver is deeper than the ocean, okay? It is deeper than the freaking ocean. So you have to, in my opinion, go Keyshawn Vaughn here. I'm surprised he's even available, considering we have 2nd-round guys, potentially in 1 quarterback leagues like Henry Ruggs, who would kind of go there in the second round of a rookie mock draft, rookie draft. And Keyshawn Vaughn's chilling. Listen, Keyshawn Vaughn's super risky, but everyone in the 7th round has some form of risk, right? And I do think he's a way better pass protector and catcher than Ronald Jones. So at worst, I think he gets that third down job as long as Dare Ugambalwale, or however you say it, doesn't take too much work there. And obviously, Ronald Jones wasn't drafted by Bruce Arians. So, could it be a committee? Sure. But if Keyshawn Vaughn's catching like 70, 80 balls and a pretty high-powered offense that improved their offensive line and just added Tom check down Brady, I think it's a perfect upside pick here. And worst comes to worst, he's my RB4. And since we don't have 3 wide receivers in this draft, running backs, I think, become even more important. And what I mean is 3 wide receivers in the starting lineup. We only have 2 starting wide receivers and 2 flexes. So Keyshawn Vaughn's the pick here for me. Will Fuller goes at 7-11. Darius Geis at the 7-12. Kerryon Johnson at the 8-01. And Hunter Henry at the 8-02. So that's fine with me. I'm happy. I mean, I'm going to surprise the world here, I think, again. I've been really enjoying surprising the world here. And
Go ahead,
now,
take him.
take him? Okay.
Yeah.
And with the 803, I'm going to take Denzel Mims.
Fuck you.
Denzel, man.
That's right, baby. I'm taking
Did not
Denzel
know.
Mims.
Dang it, man.
People thought I was taking Harry. Son was so excited over there. But no, I'm going with my guy Denzel Mims. They're super close for me.
Your guy? What happened? You don't like Mims. What happened?
He's my wide receiver 5 or 6, dude. What is he supposed to be, like my 1?
No, you were saying the other day you hate Darnold, you don't like Gase. You are not a fan of Mims.
Do you want me to break it down for Mims? I will gladly break it down for Mims. See, here's the thing. Mims was already kind of a senior. He broke out very early in college, but kind of fell off towards the latter half of his career, but then blew up again in the senior year there at Baylor. I think he can be Sam Darnold's number 1 pass catching option. Adam Gase is terrible. He killed Devontae Parker. He killed Kenyon Drake. He killed Ryan Tannehill. I mean, if you're in Adam Gase's sights, you're probably dead by now. Okay. So it's just kind of that layer of it. But listen, wide receivers are a long-term play. So even if I think Sam Darnold's a bust, which I'm leaning towards, I think Denzel Mims is good. I think he plays a DK Metcalf type role and shows upside to become a versatile route runner there at the Senior Bowl. Harry has a lot of risks, so does Denzel Mims. But since we've seen Harry suck on the NFL field so far, we haven't seen Mims at all. I'd rather take Mims.
All right. And then after him goes Joe Burrow at the 804. So looking at N'Keal Harry at the top of the board there, as we mentioned, Austin Hooper, Josh Allen at quarterback, Brandon Cooks, T. Higgins, Baker Mayfield, Pittman. For me, I'm looking, do I go, value here again? There's a couple of young receivers and Harry, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman that I like available. Or, do I look to try to fill that running back spot? And, with my team kind of building for the future, don't imagine I'm going to be competing this year. So I imagine that I'm going to be able to get, probably a top half rookie pick next year and then potentially be able to maybe get another pick there. So probably be looking to, fill my future running backs with those picks. So with that being the case here, I'm going to take my highest rated rookie receiver there, and that's T. Higgins. Obviously, Joe Burrow went just before him there. I believe in Joe Burrow. I think Higgins is, going to have a decent role this year, but after this year, he's going to have a huge role long term. I think he's going to be the alpha with Tyler Boyd as this kind of solid second receiver there. So we'll go T. Higgins and fill out that receiving core a little more here.
All right, so Josh Allen went at the 806 there, leaving me with a lot of different options. It's really a toss-up right now between N'Keal Harry and Michael Pittman Jr. I love Pittman Jr. I'm a Colts fan, and I've watched a lot of tape on him since he came here and before he came here. He has really, really high upside, and I think he could take on that wide receiver 1 role in the offense here within a few years. N'Keal Harry, I'm not as high on him as most, but here it still would be of value at this pick. However, since they're both so close, I'm going to go with the homer pick, and I'm going to go with Michael Pittman Jr., who I just love his upside, love his long-term potential.
Okay, so after Pittman, Baker Mayfield went at 808, and yeah, at this point I'm okay to reach for your own guys, and for me, my guy here is Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh. I really believe in him, and I think that there are rumors that Juju may leave next year, and that will make him the number one wide receiver for the Steelers. And I really like his route running ability, and he showed really well last year with Duck Hodges and who was the other guy who got beaten up?
Mason
Yeah,
Rudolph beaten
Mason
up.
Rudolph.
Mason
Yeah,
Beaten
I
up.
remember.
That's how you described it.
I like how that he's remembered. He's the guy
yeah,
that got beaten up.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, with those quarterbacks, he performed well. So I am really high on him.
Awesome. And we had Marlon Mack go off at the 8-10 between us. My quarterback gamble / calculation has paid off. I know Will and Sanatan are going to be behind this pick 100%, but I am grabbing Carson Wentz here. I think
Oh
it's a
yeah,
fantastic
Hey.
value at the back of the 8th round to finally get my first quarterback. So super excited about that. After that pick went Austin Matthews and Matt Ryan.
I think it's a
I
good spot for Jalen Hurts here to give yourself that choice, dude.
yeah.
No, but I might do something equally as stupid. So before I make my pick, just to let all you guys know, given the time, I think we're going to wrap up the 9th, go through the 10th, and then we'll call it there. That sound good?
Cool.
Cool. So, as I said, I'm going to do something stupid. I wouldn't advise anyone listening to this podcast to do this. But as I said, I like my wide receiver core, Debo, Jarvis Landry, T.Y. Hilton, but I lack kind of like an elite one. So I'm going to take A.J. Green.
Yeah.
If he stays
Oh.
healthy, if the biggest if you can imagine, then I might be getting my wide receiver one here in the 9th round. So it's a huge gamble. I'm okay taking that gamble in the 9th round, but again, it's kind of stupid. So take it with a grain of salt. I think it fits the team.
Yeah, I like that pick. It's a good gamble, and if it
I
pays
like you,
off, then
Sanatan.
what's the difference between Hilton and AJ Green? Like, I don't understand why Hilton is going 3 rounds before AJ Green. They're the same age, and AJ Green has, I think has the higher pedigree. If you look at it, he has just been injured. Who knows? This year could be different. He has had ample time to get rest. So I think that's a great pick. Um,
Thanks, buddy.
After Green, Mecole Hardman went, and yeah. So since Dylan sniped me, I'm going to snipe him again. I'm going to give him back, and I'm going to take the future wide receiver one for the Raiders, and that's
Oh
Brian
no!
Edwards.
Hey, Brian
Oh
Edwards.
Wow.
Dylan, you can.
And then and then the
Brian
computer snipes him again with N'Keal Harry.
Oh my god, it's the worst day ever.
You can suck it, Dylan.
Oh no! No. Sorry, you're good, Trenton. You can go.
Yeah, after the draft, we can trade Mims and Edwards.
Yeah, no chance. I'm
Looking
Oh,
looking
there you
forward to
go.
it.
All right, but at the 905, N'Keal Harry went, and that's honestly surprising. I didn't expect him to fall this far. He was like a top 3 guy on the board when I picked David Johnson in the 7th round, and here we are in the 9th. So it's really surprising that he fell, and I was thinking about picking him here, but since he went there, it makes my job so much easier. I'm going to go with my one of my favorite sleeper wide receivers here, and Darius Slayton of the New York Giants. I think he has really high upside. He has a really, really good mesh with Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes. They really worked well together. They looked very in sync. They fit each other's styles very well. And I really like his upside, and I think he fills that wide receiver one role in New York this year. And he could be a very, very, very high upside, decent floor guy. He could be potentially a future high wide receiver too. So I really like this pick. I'm going to go with Darius Slayton.
Awesome. And then after Slayton goes Brandon Cooks. And that worked out for me. I was hoping that a couple of the running backs, some older guys that I was looking at, would get back to me here, and only one went since my T. Higgins pick. So I am thrilled to still see Mark Ingram on the board. Not a ton of long-term upside there, but I can draft him confidently here as my RB2. Worst case scenario, he gets, passed by Dobbins early on, and it's a nice round pick, so it's not the worst. But your best case scenario, he can hold off Dobbins for a bit, have some value, and if I'm competing, I've got my RB2. If not, I can trade him, for a future pick. So really rounds out the wide receiver heavy startup draft here with Mark Ingram as my RB2.
Yeah, I mean, not the best running back too, but if you're competing, Mark Ingram could give you some really solid numbers there. So I'm not mad at that pick at all. Here at the 909, we have Philip Lindsay go, and that's another guy I wasn't even thinking about. And it's tough here. I have a tough choice to make. I really do. Crap. I'm probably going wide receiver here. And there's a few layers of why I'm picking this person. And to be honest, it's so close. There's so many names here, so I'm just gonna break down each one. I'm Preston Williams. I
Oh
like
my God.
Sterling Shepard. I like. Don't. Oh my God, me! I'm breaking down for the listeners.
Oh, yeah, I was like, you're breaking down every guy.
You
No,
can go through the rest of the draft.
Be ready for a
No,
2-hour
yeah.
podcast.
no. The final guy here is Raheem Mostert. And since look, I'm gonna kind of cheat the system here. There's going to be 4 picks between my 9th and my 10th round pick. And since I'm looking at it, it's the computer. Sterling Shepard was going to be the guy I was going to take here. But since he's so lowly rated, this is going to backfire. I'm going to go with another player here. And I'm actually going to lock in Raheem Mostert. Now, I don't like Raheem Mostert at all. He's 28, but he was really good. And they got rid of Matt Breida. So that only helps him. And for the next 4 picks here, Aaron Rodgers at the 9-11, Dallas Goedert at the 9-12. The 10-01 is Brandon Ayuk, more like I puke. And
No.
the 10-02 is Mike Gesicki. I'm certainly puking, bro. And when you look at that, the draft god strategies worked out. And not only is Sterling Shepard here, my second guy, Preston Williams, was here. So, this madman has a methodology, and dang, does it work. So, just before I select Sterling Shepard here, who is very, very good when healthy, he struggled with health, had some synergy there in connection with Daniel Jones. My strategy for the next round, since we won't be doing them here, was to maybe stack a tight end duo like Tyler Higbee, Irv Smith, Jonnu Smith, all kind of options, Hayden Hurst even, and like the 10th and 11th, and maybe even double dip on them. Because normally those later round tight ends, one of them ends up breaking out. So I could get some great value there. So I just wanted to explain that, why I didn't grab a tight end at all here in the 10 rounds. I'm going to lock in Sterling Shepard. He also isn't a rookie like Preston Williams, or a second-year player and is more proven. So since I have some rookies on this team, I like to play it safe.
Yeah, you got the better wide receiver from the Giants than Trenton
Thank
did.
you. I was thinking the same thing. So
I like that you pointed that out, Steve and I think this is year 3 for our joint startup or Dynasty that we're in, and we did go tight end heavy toward the end, and one of them ended up being Mark Andrews. So we got
Right.
a bunch of young guys. You hope that one of them breaks out if you do wait. So I like that idea. For me here, there's a couple of tight ends, quarterbacks up here, wide receivers. I think Dylan painted that out pretty good. So looking to just lock down some more running backs here to get some more depth. And one guy that I was considering, the last 2 rounds, but I don't think anyone is super high on him, especially here in PPR. It's not a sexy pick, but it's a guy that I think is going to be relied on by his team, and Sony Michel. He's still likely the RB1 there, and I think he's going to have a good year. I mean, obviously PPR, it's going to limit his upside, but to have him as my RB3 with the wide receivers and quarterback and tight end I don't mind it. I think he's going to have some value that potentially you can get a pick for him later if you really needed to. But to fill out a running back core with the wide receivers that I have, I don't mind it. So we'll go Sony.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love him, but and you could kind of say it to Dylan too. Like Dylan got a starting running back at the back of the ninth. You just got a
Yeah.
running back in the middle of the 10th. I mean, might not love those players, but starting running back's a starting running back, right?
hmm
Yeah.
It's not happy about it.
Yeah. So after he picked Michelle right there at the 10:06, Tyler Higbee went, leaving me with my top option available, a guy I really like, and I think he has a lot of long-term trade upside. This is a guy that I'm not looking for my future guy, because I already have one of the top two guys at the position there. And he's a guy I'm looking to trade here after a season or after he even blows up for one game, and that is Tua Tagovailoa. However you say, did I say that right?
Yeah.
I
Something
think you
like
got it,
Kinda.
actually.
I nailed it. Let's go.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
But I'll just go Tua from now on. Tua has that upside, and I feel like with him being a rookie quarterback and a very highly touted guy in college, he has a lot of trade value. And so he's a guy that after, say, he has 2 good weeks back to back, you can trade him for a ton of better pieces. He has that trade value. And looking further into the next few rounds, I'd look at another quarterback, even like in Daniel Jones or Drew Lock in the next few rounds to get my actual quarterback too. But this is my trade chip right here. This is my prime trade chip in Tua.
Okay, after Tua, Stafford went, and if Tua is going to blow up, I'm guessing the guy I'm going to pick is going to blow up as well, and that's Preston Williams from Miami. I think he's very talented, and Parker went like 4.5 rounds before Preston Williams. And what's the difference? I don't see a difference between Preston Williams and Parker. In fact, Parker did not even get those targets before Preston Williams was injured. So when he comes back, maybe there are some hiccups since he was injured. But as the season goes by, I think he will claim the number 1 role right back. So that's it.
And after Sanatan, we had Daryl Henderson. So this will be the last pick for us. So with the 10-11, just give a rundown of availability so everybody knows what we're looking at for the following rounds. We have Goff, Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins at quarterback. At running back, Zach Moss, Tariq Cohen, Matt Breida, Devonta Freeman. At wide receiver, we have Curtis Samuel, John Brown, Robbie Anderson, Anthony Miller. And then finally at tight end, Irv Smith, OJ Howard, Jonnu Smith, and Ian Thomas. Like Dylan, I will also end this draft without taking a tight end. I still like plenty of options here. Irv Smith, Jonnu, Ian Thomas, even, Hayden Hurst, I think has a lot of upside. So plenty of options that I select on the board at tight end. I would get one later. I am going to go ahead and grab another wide receiver, and I'm actually going to reach a little bit. I do like Anthony Miller, but I want someone safer because I may get 4 games out of AJ Green. I don't know. Maybe that pick I just set on fire. So I will grab the reliable and underappreciated Marvin Jones to round out my roster of wide receiver 2s.
Yep.
So we will add him. The last pick of the 10th round was Curtis Samuel. So that wraps up our draft. Let's go ahead, everybody, and we'll do a quick recap of our teams. So for me, my quarterback is Wentz. My running backs, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, and Kareem Hunt. My wide receivers are Debo, Jarvis Landry, T.Y. Hilton, A.J. Green, Marvin Jones, and then I did not grab a tight end. Sanatan, what's your team looking like?
Yeah, my quarterback is Mahomes, and my tight end is T.J. Hawkinson. My running backs are Alvin Kamara, Josh Jacobs, and Cam Akers. And my wide receiver core is Jalen Rager, Marquise Brown, Deontay Johnson, Brian Edwards, and Preston Williams.
All right. So for my quarterback, I took Lamar Jackson. My tight end is George Kittle. And then my running backs are Kenyon Drake, David Montgomery, and David Johnson. Wide receivers are DeAndre Hopkins, Henry Ruggs, Michael Pittman Jr., and Darius Slayton. And I also took Tua as my ultimate trade chip.
All right, and then my quarterback Kyler Murray, tight end Mark Andrews, running backs Miles Sanders, Mark Ingram, and Sony Michel, and then my receivers Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Mike Williams, and T. Higgins.
All right, awesome. And for my team picking here at the 10th spot, I took Deshaun Watson as my quarterback in the 6th. I went running back early, selecting Nick Chubb, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and J.K. Dobbins all in the first 4 rounds there. I also have DK Metcalf, Robert Woods as my starting wide receivers. Shout out there to Keyshawn Vaughn, filling out my last flex spot there, taken in the late 7th. And then my bench is currently composed of 2 wide receivers, Denzel Mims and Sterling Shepard, and then Raheem Mostert, taken in the late 9th there as my trade chip. So overall, I think I played the board great. I let some players purposely slide to me and reached on other players. I think and how do I word it? I manipulated the draft well. So I'm very happy with my team.
Yeah.
Sanatan, how do you feel about your team?
Yeah, I think I picked. I mean, if I had to go I was picking as if we have 12 players. I'm sure that Patrick Mahomes could have fallen more if I had not picked him. The quarterbacks are falling a lot, and I think I'm just totally going running back heavy, and I think it's just win now strategy.
Trent, how about you?
Yeah, I liked my draft. I got a top tier quarterback and a top tier tight end. Those are 2 really good pieces for championship rosters. I also didn't realize until after the draft, but I did get a Kenyon Drake, DeAndre Hopkins stack, which is about the only wide receiver running back stack I actually kind of like, because they both complement each other's games so well. I know it sounds weird to have a wide receiver and running back
Yeah.
complement each other, but they do. I mean, you have DeAndre Hopkins, who's going to get a ton of volume and pull the defenses away from Kenyon Drake to run the ball. So you got a lot of that, and I have a lot of youth on this team, so really looking for the future, as well as potentially being able to compete immediately with those quarterback and tight end picks.
So what you are saying is that Hopkins will catch the ball and also pull the defender so that Kenyon Drake will run the ball at the same time. So there will be 2
Yes.
balls. Okay.
Yeah.
No. What he's actually saying is D Hop and Kenyon Drake are a better stack than, I don't know, let's say Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas. I don't know, Tyreek Hill and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't know, Zeke and Cooper, DJ Moore and CMC. I mean, maybe he's right. Maybe it's just the best stack.
I said one of the. I like
just
Alvin Kamara and
Dirty
Mike Thomas.
stack.
We just like to bust each other balls. Anyways, let's move on.
And Will, what do you think about your team, man?
Yeah, I think a little more long term. As I mentioned, there in the middle of the draft, kind of had a fork in the road, and I am thrilled with my receiving core. Got the quarterback tight end stack that Trenton mentioned, having 2 studs, but mine are a little bit younger, so probably maybe takes another year or 2 to develop. So imagine this team, if everything breaks right, is competing, but more likely than not, probably looking at drafting one of the top running backs next year to pair with Sanders, and maybe trading away some of the older pieces that drafted toward the end for another pick and competing in a year or 2.
Yeah, fair. And for as painful as the exercise was, I really like how my team turned out. I still might trade in Jonathan Taylor for Julio, and then either grab Taylor with the 411 or grab Akers or Drake or something. That's been a debate the past hour in my mind. But overall, I like it. It was uncomfortable, but I think it turned out well. So with that in mind, guys, thank you for joining us for this draft. It was lovely having you on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Dylan, if you could give a plug, where can we find the podcast again?
Yeah, so you could find the Fantasy Flavor podcast pretty much anywhere on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, Podcoin, Stitcher even. So we're on everywhere too. And we have a YouTube channel. Just type in Fantasy Space Flavor. It'll come up. We do our podcast episodes, but with our faces on there. So, if you want to see my handsome face and 2 other slightly below average faces, you can most certainly do that. I just also want to plug my Twitter again there. If you don't want to miss a podcast episode, follow me on Twitter at DKTHOM2018. And I tweet out every single time we have a new podcast episode, so you'll never miss a beat.
Awesome. Sanatan, what was your Twitter?
It's at the rate of Sanatan Saraf. Just no numbers.
And Trenton, do you remember yours now?
I think I do.
No, he doesn't.
No, I'm kidding. I was gonna double check, but no. T. Roberts, NFL.
Awesome. And you can follow us, as always, at Trust Your Board. Thanks for joining us today. Have a good day, everyone.